need some clarity right now. So to answer some of those questions, we're joined from Denmark by Professor Irene Peterson from University College London. And from Fife, we have Stephen Reicher, Professor of Social Psychology at St Andrews University and also a member of Independent Sage. And Dr Amir Khan is in Leeds this morning.
Good morning to you all.
Hi.
Good morning.
Lots of people have been getting in touch with their questions this morning. So if we plough straight on, because, you know, there is a lot of uncertainty at the moment, so it's good to get some clarity on this, as we were saying. If I can start with you, Professor Peterson, we've got one here from Libby saying, are COVID symptoms still the same? Or are new variants presenting differently? Because my GP today asked if I had earache, runny nose or sore throat when discussing symptoms. So what do people have to watch out for with the Omicron variant?
These are some of the symptoms that you're going to watch out for. This morning I woke up with a sore throat and I took a lateral flow test just to make sure that I haven't got COVID. So, yes, these are some of the common symptoms. One of the problems that Amir Khan can probably also talk about is that they're not just symptoms of COVID, they're also symptoms of many other viruses.
Yes, so it's a good point. So important to get tested, you know, in order to make sure. And Dr. Amir, I'm sure you'd echo that as well.
Yeah, there's so much overlap with the winter viruses now, and the three kind of common symptoms we were all aware of at the start of this pandemic, the persistent cough, fever, loss of taste and sense of smell, has changed through, you know, the Delta variant. We saw runny noses and headaches. With Omicron, we're seeing this scratchy throat, muscle aches, extreme fatigue. I think the best way to put it is your cold is guilty until proven innocent.
Oh.
So if you have any symptoms, take a PCR test.
Yeah, it's a good point. Because I did 3 tests when I then tested positive, and all of them were negative until the last one, so it is important.
Just keep testing. Stephen, a question for you. This is Tony. He says, my stepdaughter is vaccine hesitant. This is going to be an issue for lots of people, lots of family members, and she looks at far too many anti-vaccine scare stories. How can I convince her that it's safer to have the vaccine than not? Stephen Reicher, that's for you.
Well, I have a teenage son, and I know how difficult it is to persuade him of anything, because, of course, he wants to be his own person. He doesn't want to listen to me. And that makes a key point about vaccine hesitancy. We think it's just about the information. Well, it is in part, but it's also about your social relationship to the source of information, because we're getting lots of different things said to us. And the question in the end is, who do we trust? Who do we listen to? So we've got to think very carefully about how we relate to people who say to us things that we think are wrong, things we don't like. And the obvious reaction is to say, look, that's daft, don't be stupid, or don't be selfish. But I think that's counterproductive because, again, it pushes the person away. I think the first thing we've got to do is to treat those queries with respect, not to dismiss them, not to say, oh, that's ridiculous, but to listen and perhaps to work through with one's daughter or with one's son, well, what is that information? And let's look at it together and let's search and see what we can find, because there are always answers to those questions, but the questions need to be taken very seriously indeed. People who are vaccine hesitant aren't stupid. They're not necessarily selfish. A lot of the time, they have genuine questions. And the second point is not to polarize things, not to turn it into a complete black and white. Because I think one of the problems when the vaccines were rolled out was there is a tendency to want to underplay the side effects. And there are side effects, as there are to any drug. If you take out you know, your packet of aspirin or paracetamol or ibuprofen, you'll find all sorts of contraindications. Of course, they're terribly minor, and they're outweighed by the relief that the pill gives. And it's exactly the same with vaccines. Yes, vaccines have got some side effects, but they are minimal, absolutely minimal compared to the advantage. And the truth of the matter is that, yes, we do need to get vaccinated. And as long as there are pools of people who aren't vaccinated, it doesn't only affect the individual, it affects society as a whole, because the virus can still circulate and it can mutate. And that makes a final point to stress to people, as we did at the beginning, and it was very effective, that taking vaccines and protecting ourselves isn't just about oneself, it's about the community. It's about we It's
Okay.
not just about I.
Good point to make. I've got one here, a question about Christmas plans. Dr. Amir, if I can come to you on this. Gaz asks, I have a family due for Christmas, but with rumours now of a lockdown, should they come or not? If they don't, they'll be on their own and will have to go and buy food they thought they wouldn't need. They also live over 150 miles away. And it's a difficult time for families, isn't it? Trying to weigh up, you know, you want to protect if there might be any vulnerable members, but also at the same time, we went through this last year, and from a mental health perspective, it's actually a really tough time for people if they are left on their own at Christmas.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Charlotte. It doesn't look like any restrictions are going to come into play for Christmas Day. So should Gaz's family want to come and visit, they're not breaking any rules. But there are ways that they can make that safer for themselves. Not absolutely safe, but safer. Ensuring everybody is vaccinated and boosted, really, really important. Before they come, they should try and do a lateral flow test. And it's really important to do that lateral flow test right up until the last minute, because of the rate at which the virus doubles, the rate at which you can become infectious can be, you could be non-infectious. They have a negative lateral flow test in the morning and then have a positive one in the afternoon. So really important to do that at the very last minute before you leave to visit anyone. And then when you do get to the home, make sure it's properly ventilated, open up windows regularly because this virus is airborne. And after Christmas dinner, perhaps take everybody outside for a post-Christmas walk, because being outdoors is much safer than being indoors.
All right. Irene, back to you. This is from Michael. Interesting one, this. Has anyone had Delta and Omicron at the same time? And is that possible? And if it is, does that cause even more issues?
Yeah, it is a very good question. And as both variants are circulating at the same time, yes, it is possible that you can be exposed to both of them. But it's likely that the Omicron will win because it doubles so much faster than the Delta.
OK, and I've just got a quick question here, if we can ask Professor Reicher about this one. It's about booster jabs, because Wendy asks, I had my 3rd jab yesterday, and I was then told there could be a 4th jab. Is this true? And the fear is, of course, that, you know, it's only going to last for a certain amount of time. Are we going to keep having to have booster after booster to be able to keep this under control?
Well, I should stress I'm a behavioural scientist. I'm not a vaccinologist, but I do sit and I listen to vaccinologists. And first of all, exactly how long the booster will last is unknown. It's one of the many unknowns. The second thing is, yes, it is possible we will have to have boosters on a regular basis, but it's not that unusual. After all, we have a yearly flu vaccine. So it is very possible indeed we're going to have more vaccinations in due course. But as I say, I don't think that's a big issue because we live with it with other vaccinations.
OK, Professor Reicher there, Professor Peterson, Dr Amir Khan as well. Thank you all for your expertise, and thank you to all of you for getting in touch with your questions as well. Hopefully we've answered a good number of them for you.